Hey friends. I had a rather surprising morning because I got a little sniffle overnight and a little bit of a scratchy throat. And I thought nothing of it, but I decided I should take a COVID test before I walk into the theater and go to a writing meeting, just to be, super careful. And it was positive. Yeah, that's what I said. So, not what I was expecting, and it's almost like a perfect storm of horrible timing, because it's a perfect storm of horrible timing, and it's in some ways it could be worse. Because I can't do the opening of the show. I probably can't do the Friday performance either. I should be able to be back by Saturday, provided that I recover quickly, which I seem to be. I'm certainly not 100%. It's got me. I'm not asymptomatic, but it feels really light and sort of like a sniffle that, I wouldn't in a normal time, in the non-pandemic era, I wouldn't even notice this. I would just tell myself, "Oh, you need to get some rest." But we're not in normal times, and so the production is rallying to get the composer slotted in as the music director for the first couple performances, and they're also, bless them, doing a bunch of really significant cuts to the material, which are really necessary. They're going to make the show way better. And I just have this kind of, I'm sort of toggling between heartbreak about this predicament and an odd sense that this is teaching me something, that there's a lesson here, or that there is some healing here that I stand to gain from this experience. And I'm pretty clear about not just wanting to like look on the bright side or spin it in a way that somehow turns something really disappointing into something somehow papering over the disappointment, or not allowing myself to feel that disappointment. I really do have heartbreak about it, because it's just the last thing in the world I expected. Just the last thing in the world. And it also confirms so much about my perception of health, because 99% I'd place a $1 million bet on how and when I got it, and it basically comes down to I let my body get fatigued, and it just couldn't. And so the virus got in. My sense is that it's kind of everywhere, and that my defenses kind of went down. I had a couple nights when I got very little sleep, was really, really exhausted. Kind of the peak of how hard I've been working since I got here. Even more than at the beginning, because at the beginning it was constant, but it was also clear. My marching orders were clear. I knew what I had to do. When we get into tech and actually sort of running the show, mounting the show, there's a whole emotional surrender that has to happen, and there's a whole other level of just intensity that comes through. And so this was really, it was kind of like the climax of what we were doing, and I feel like I just kind of slipped off the horse in terms of keeping myself stable and healthy, and just physically from a rest point of view. And so this bug got in, and so I'm looking at that, and in some ways it's like, yeah, that's interesting to note. Not really very fun to learn this lesson, but interesting to note. Um, and feeling like I've let everybody down, feeling like I've, you know, somehow made a misstep, and I know that's I know that's not true, and nobody has, not a single person has given me that vibe at all. I just know that there's a layer, there's an emotional layer to it that I can discard it, and I don't have to honor that, but it sort of comes up of its own accord. So I'm wrestling with that. But there's another side to this where it's like I felt immediately, and of course this is the irony is that it's having the opposite effect, but I felt immediately like I just wanted to be near my family. I just wanted to be near Katie and Annalise. Not so that I can give them COVID, but it kind of, there's a way in which being so intensely absorbed in a project like this, I talked about it. It takes my focus. It takes my focus off of those people in a way, and off of the rhythms that we share. Sharing a rhythm with a toddler is completely different than making a piece of theater. It's like you could hardly get two more different daily rhythms. And I noticed myself acknowledging a need, a deep need that is, I think, not being met a lot of times in my creative persona realm, to really rest, and be good to myself, be gentle on myself. It's funny because I feel like I was just saying that a couple days ago, and what I was very rigorous about was doing my qigong and making sure that I was keeping my body in a good place physically. But the rest thing, it was like it's kind of like a dog with a chew toy that it just won't let go of, and I just get on that chew toy, and it's like, hold on, is that chew toy, like, is there anything to be gained by just like muzzling that chew toy even harder? And the answer is no. But there's a sense of like, what if, there's like a layer of, oh my God, I need rest. It feels good to lie down and just be gentle on myself. And I think that's something that it's hard for me to do. And it's in a weird way, it's also like, it's emblematic, or it's entwined with my kind of constant desire to keep expanding. So I will just continually want to be advancing on the piano front, on singing, on my work as an arranger, on the programming work I'm doing, on the writing, on the acting. It's like I lean into all these things, and I have this underlying desire to excel. And that's where the fixation on the chew toy comes from. That's where that like clamping a hold of it and not letting go comes from. And I get myself in a high stakes situation like this, where people are relying on me for those things, and it feels justified. It feels like, well, I'm playing this role, I'm playing these multiple roles, so that's actually what's called for. And it's kind of like I've designed the perfect circumstances for myself to actualize that inner drive. But it's involuntary and it's habitual in some ways. It's not strictly grounded and stable and kind of rooted in the context of the whole. And so when something like this happens and it's like the bottom drops out, now I literally can't leave the house. I mean, I can go outside and walk around, but I can't go anywhere. I can't even go into a store. You know, everything kind of like drops away, and it's like I get to feel what I essentially don't feel when I'm in that mode, in that frantic chew toy mode. I'm going to call it a chew toy mode. I actually play a character in the show that only barks, so maybe that's why I'm conditioned to use dog metaphor. But I, you know, so there's, and it's this softer part of myself where I'm like, I don't give myself that ease very often. Sometimes I do, but frequently I push to the limit. And finding out that I have a limit and taking that seriously in a way, like not always expecting of myself, oh, I must go beyond this limit, would be a form of healing for me. That's a form of healing for me. That's something that will bring all of my skills and all the things that inspire me into a kind of alignment with a deeper part of myself that's actually human. You know, it's easy to kind of feel like I'm expanding from a kind of spiritual place, because that energy is very high vibration and it's essentially infinitely powerful. It's infinite. It's literally infinitely powerful. And so capacity, when our mind taps into that, the capacity of our mind for us to blow our own mind and for us to travel so quickly and to grow and expand is really remarkable. But there is this human side. There is this side of it to where it's like, I am actually a biological being. I am actually human. And it's not that I don't consciously think that, but it's that subconsciously I ignore that and I just push. And so again, like as I look at this event from the point of view of healing and what wisdom it's imparting to me, that's so clearly front and center, is giving myself my own grace and kind of humanity so that I don't get so exhausted, so that I can still grow and do amazing things, but I don't need to be always leaning over that next edge if what I really need is a little bit of time to integrate and regroup and see my family and see my daughter, who I just miss more than anything in the world. You know, it's not like I have COVID, so now I miss Annalise. It's like I have COVID, so now I notice that I miss Annalise. It's like I'm aware of it. I'm allowed to be aware of it now because it's like, stop, don't. It's like all that other activity is just come to a crashing halt. And it's like, what's left? Oh, my daughter, my wife, my parents, my siblings. I haven't talked to them in weeks. It's a softness. It's a softening of me that I think is very healthy in the long run. And I just hope that, and I know we will, absorb the hit as a theater, as a company, and keep going we already have a contingency plan, so it's going to work out fine. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. I love you. Means the world to me to be able to let this kind of thing out, to have people receiving it. So, thank you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.